What's up, Guava Bean? You're listening to the Dear Guava Bean podcast, and in this episode, I'm speaking with Chantel, who is a full-time travel blogger and digital nomad. In this episode, we talk about balancing work and travel, finding a healthy routine, and we also talk about Chantel's work as a social media manager and her passion for promoting body positivity for plus-sized women. I really loved recording this episode, and I hope you like listening to it too. Enjoy! Hi, Chantel. Thank you for joining the podcast.
Oh, thank you for having me, Claire.
It's so nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well.
I want to start at the very beginning. What do you do? Like when people ask you, what do you do? What's the answer?
Yeah, so I initially tell them that I work as a travel writer and a body positivity activist, but then I also tell them that I work in digital marketing and that my services are usually on social media platforms.
Interesting. So you do a little bit of marketing and then body positivity.
Yeah, it's my I guess you can call it my niche on my blog, and it's just been a really big part of my journey in terms of how I formed my career, what exactly I wanted out of a career. So it's nice to be able to slip something that I feel so passionately about into what I do.
Yes, that is very unique. That is such a unique combination too. How did you find that niche? Is it something that you always felt called to do, or was it something you just discovered?
Truthfully speaking, it was just based a lot on my own personal experiences. I had a very difficult journey as a plus size woman, as a plus size teenager, as a plus size child. And so to really change your mentality and to be able to create something more positive out of something that was so ugly, not necessarily ugly as in like who you are, but the experience itself, to be able to flip that and make it into something positive was just an experience that I went through. And once I was there, I just wanted to help as many people as possible get to that same place.
I love that. And how long have you been working remotely?
So remotely, I've been working for about a year and a half now, kind of bouncing around. Portugal is the longest place that I have stayed, which is about 5 months. Prior to that, it was just going somewhere all the time.
So you would call yourself like a full digital nomad?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love your Instagram, which is called the Voyaging Vagabond. Every time I see
Thank
those
you.
photos, I get like travel envy.
I'm glad. I want people to be able to explore the world for all that it has to offer. And if I can share my experience and help somebody else do that, then why not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so inspiring to see other people, living their dreams, traveling, doing the work that they love. How did you find marketing and like starting this kind of work?
Well, I honestly created my travel blog back in 2015. And as soon as I created it and I published my first blog post, I thought, okay, now everyone's going to read my blog post on the internet. Everyone's just going to find it and it's just going to blow everyone's mind and make them want to read more. And then I quickly learned that that wasn't the case at all. And I had to do my own marketing for my blog. And I found that I really just took to it very easily, learning how to follow trends, how to speak to communities, how to figure out your brand. Like those were just things that I could identify. And I was like, I wonder if I could maybe do this as my job. And so I took a chance and I applied to an agency job where that would kind of be what my job entailed. And then I got it and that's how it began.
That's awesome. So you didn't take any course or learn how to be a marketer, you just kind of figured it out?
I kind of like emulated certain people and the efforts that they were putting forth and kind of just finding people that and like admiring how they use their voice, how they use their platform. And I was like, okay, I want to do those things too. And then I found that the more that I was seeing different things being tried out, I was like, okay, I'm going to also try that out. So whether it be like being on a different platform, focusing on SEO, like making sure your Instagram looks really good, having a community and like creating that community. Those were all things that I saw other people doing. And I was like, okay, I want to do that. And then I didn't realize at the time that like I was creating profitable skills for myself. I just thought I was like doing what I needed to do to be a travel blogger.
Interesting. So kind of just like learning from experts, choosing certain unofficial mentors to study. That's cool. I learned like that a lot too.
Yeah. And then even forming relationships with these people that, that I was looking up to. And just like, because if somebody's supporting me, the least I can do is support them. And if they're doing so much for me and they're teaching so much, why not show my appreciation, whether it be, following up on their products, sharing their content, liking their pictures, just in every way that I could have.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a benefit that we have of the internet nowadays. You can find anyone in whatever niche that you're interested in.
Definitely. It's like the new networking almost.
Exactly, exactly. What did you do before freelancing?
So before freelancing, like I said, I worked at an agency that handled digital marketing. Prior to that, I was waitressing. I made a resume that I was very proud of using the skills that I had learned, like I said, from my blog. And I started working for this agency, and I was there for, say, just over a year. And then after a year, I decided to break out and do it on my own. And that's when I went freelance. So that was about 2018, early 2019, January 2019.
What made you want to try to take that leap and do it by yourself?
Truthfully speaking, the agency that I was at, it wasn't a very healthy environment. At the time, I had 20 clients, which a lot of people can know it was just a lot. And it wasn't just 20 clients doing little tasks for each one. It was like 20 clients that I'm creating 7 social media posts for a week. I'm doing all of their digital advertisements, all their newsletters, all of their blog writing, creating their content. And to have 20, it was exhausting mentally. And I said, at this point, I can learn how to do this for myself and get the amount of clients that I think is healthy. And not only that, but be willing to charge what I believe that I'm worth.
Yeah, that's such a huge part of it, taking that risk on yourself. And if it works out, you get to charge what you're worth. You get to work with the clients that you want. It's a huge risk, but it's like that big leap of faith.
Yeah, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to just be like, okay, I'm going to do this for myself and I'm going to go. But it is, if you are, it takes a lot of determination. But if you're willing to do that, then it's extremely rewarding.
Yeah, well, looking back on it, like it's been like a year and a half since you did it. How has it been for you? Has it been like what you expected? Was it easier or more difficult?
It's interesting because you definitely learn a lot once you're like, okay, well, now I can go travel the world and create my own schedule and charge what I want. But then a matter of like having the discipline to sit down and really get the work done that you need to do. And I mean, I'm also always working on other creative projects, and just being able to like create that schedule, and like stick to that schedule so that everything does get done. That was really big for me. Making sure you have Wi-Fi everywhere is definitely a struggle, which I'm sure a lot of digital nomads, freelancers can understand. And then I would say just really having the confidence in yourself to say, like, okay, you lose a client and you're like, okay, this isn't the end of the world. This isn't the end of the world. I have enough resources that I can, try a different project and bring in income that way. And it's just a matter of being really resourceful. And it's like a go-getter attitude where you're just like, no, like I can do this. Like, and it definitely has its difficult moments, but it also has its amazing, fulfilling, creative moments, which I think.
Yeah, it's so satisfying to be successful under your own terms. It feels like such an accomplishment, even if it's nobody else notices or anything else. It's just such a great feeling to be like, I'm making this work on my own. I'm an independent.
Yes, it's so gratifying to be like, I did all of this. The success is from me. And being able to recognize that in yourself, I think, is a really important thing that needs to happen in terms of growth. So
Yeah, absolutely. So I heard you mention like the whole struggle with getting a routine and everything. It didn't sound like you had trouble getting clients. Did you find that getting clients was easier than you expected, or?
I was lucky enough to find a really fantastic client that also was in the travel industry, which is exactly up my alley, what I was doing. And it worked out in terms of what I was willing to charge for my rate, the amount of work that it did supplement. I mean, a lot of the places that I was at the time had like a very low cost of living. So I didn't need much to get by. And so it supplemented what I would need. And then I would just bring on various projects from, say, my blog or like my activism, and those were just fun ways to kind of make all of that work.
Interesting. That's clever. So you had like one client that kind of just paid the bills, and then you did other activities on the side to make extra money.
Yeah. Yeah, or say like I wanted to save up for something, I would bring on another client, and so it's great that some of them I still have. And then my main one, sadly, because of COVID, is no longer the case. It's okay though. It's okay. These things happen. This is the time that we live in. We are not alone. It's happening to everybody. But the nice thing about it is that like at this point, like I do have that mentality where it's just like, okay, once this is all over, like I'll be able to get right back into what I'm doing. Already like there's new avenues that I can go down.
Yes, I love that mindset, like looking at the opportunity and realizing that, one door closes, another one opens up.
Oh, that's the mentality that you need to have as a digital nomad, as a freelancer. Like that is it right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we face so much like rejection and struggle in this industry that you have to be resourceful. You have to have that go-getter attitude. If you don't, you would have quit already by now.
100%. 100%. You just have to have a strength inside of you that you're just willing to go for it.
I agree. So you've been traveling for like a year and a half now?
So I've actually been traveling since about 2015. Um, yeah. I took my first big trip, and then, as is the case with most people, they're like, okay, that I never want to stop traveling. So hence why I got into freelancing and being a digital nomad. Like, is as is the case with a lot of people. And yeah, I've just been doing it since then. And at the agency, I was still working out moments where I could travel. So I've just been working really hard to make it as consistent as I can make it in my life.
That's awesome. That's kind of what people think about when they think of digital nomading and freelancing, like being able to travel and work at the same time. So you've traveled a lot, you've been to a lot of different countries. What's been your favorite so far, or like your top three favorites?
I honestly 100% have to say that Portugal is number one. I come from a Portuguese family, so like living here feels almost like a second home for me. And then in terms of like finding other creatives within the community that are freelancing, that are doing digital nomad things, there's so many options to meet those people, and there's so many different projects that you can do. So I'm really thankful for that. And the weather is incredible, and the food is even better. And there's just so many different activities that this country has to offer. So Portugal, number one.
Awesome. I've heard so much about Portugal, and I've honestly had it on my list so many times to go to, and I've always just for some reason never been out there, but I've heard that it's like the hub for digital nomads these days.
Yeah, even Spain. I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Spain, and I've heard such great things about Spain. But I'm also noticing is acquiring a really big digital nomad community, which is fantastic.
It's nice to see these like digital nomad communities pop up in certain parts of the world, like here in Asia. Everybody knows Bali as like the digital nomad hotspot
Yep.
in Chiang Mai. Yeah. Exactly,
Yes.
right? That's how you
Yes,
know it.
exactly.
But it's so nice to have this kind of community and to see like it's starting to become a bigger and bigger thing now.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I honestly, truthfully speaking, I think it's only going to become bigger, especially now with so many people working remote. I think companies are going to be more aware that maybe going to an office isn't necessarily a requirement anymore.
100%. Yeah, this is going to change so many people, like the way that they think about work. I have friends who are like, I'm starting to teach online now.
Yeah, that's great.
It's very cool. I'm obviously not happy that Corona happened.
Yes, of course. But the most important thing is finding our silver linings in all of this. And these are some of those things.
Yes, exactly. Like we said, the door opening for a lot of people. There's a new door opening now for online work, and I'm very excited to see the world move in that direction. So, tell me a little more about your blog. Do you sell anything from it, or is it just like a passion project that you do as a hobby?
So I find myself oftentimes in terms of my blog, because my blog started out as just your typical travel blog. I just wanted to share my experiences in hopes of helping the people that would come after me in my travels. And then I really found myself in terms of accepting my plus size experiences, coming over that trauma and being able to like see the light and share that with other people. So what I found myself really doing is finding different ways that were not only profitable to me, but also created representation in the travel industry for plus size people. Because I mean, even now it's still lacking, but I'm actively working with people in order to be seen, in order to be heard, in order to find myself in rooms where I can make sure that our voices are elevated.
That's amazing. I love that you have like such a passion for this type of work and for this segment, like this niche. It's something that's so underrepresented.
But so needed.
Yeah, 100%. When I saw your Instagram, that was like the first thing that jumped out at me, that whole like body positivity messaging, and just seeing that is so inspiring. It's wonderful that you're doing that work.
It's fantastic. It really is to be able to find not only brands that are willing to, empower me as a woman, but empower me as a plus size woman, but also in turn make sure that I'm being seen so that other people see themselves in me. And it's nice that I can find different brands that are willing to kind of like embark on that cause with me.
Yeah, awesome. So you work with these brands to promote products that are in line
Yeah,
the body positivity message.
100%. Like I really just try to find whether it be female owned brands, whether they're inclusive or not. Those are very big things for me. I'm really selective over the projects that I do want to work with, because I'm not someone that's going to be like, let me sell you this skinny tea on my Instagram. Like, it's just unfortunately not the avenue that I would find myself going down. However, if I can work with brands that really will make a difference in these people's lives, then that's what I would rather do.
That makes sense. There's a lot of good brands out there who need good representation also. Like they need the promotion. They're looking for someone just like you who has an Instagram following, who has a blog that is very active on social media. And so you're doing them a huge service as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of times, like if I'm working with a brand, it's because I believe in them. So if I'm going to succeed, I also want them to succeed too.
Yes, that's awesome. And that's a good way of helping like good people rise, good people working together with other people together. It creates such a like a positive economy.
Yes, yes, yes. I couldn't agree with you more, Claire. I couldn't agree more.
Awesome. So how do you balance work and travel since you are like on the go and like away from a home base?
Yeah, sometimes it's definitely difficult. For instance, like I was like doing a road trip in a van out in California for 10 days, and I was like, I need Wi-Fi. Like I need to get something. Like I have these things that I need to do. Like I have things I need to edit. Um and it's just those little struggles like that. But in the beginning, it definitely took a lot of like trial and error. Like, oh, I can wake up at 11 o'clock in the afternoon and things will be fine and I'll get all my work done. Or I'll just stay up till 3 a.m. working and just drink a lot of coffees because that's fine. It's no big deal. But I found that once I did create a routine for myself that I was willing to stick to, then I found myself being more productive. I found myself being more successful in terms of what I got accomplished in each day. So I think like really trying to set yourself to something, even if it's just small expectations. Like I always start off with like, okay, maybe just make your bed, or maybe just like clean up your room real quick, or maybe just like make yourself breakfast in the morning. Like small things like that. Sit outside in the sun for a little, like just things that you need to do to start off your day, I think was a really big part of like finding my balance. Like creating like, yes, I'm traveling, but I still need to set myself to this schedule. Like I still need to work this amount of days. Like I 100% take the weekends off, but like Monday through Friday, like those are working days, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. I take weekends are kind of sacred for me, especially Sunday. I won't touch work, but the rest of the week I treat it as pretty much a regular job. I try to start at 9 and make myself, take breaks and take a lunch break. And that routine is so important to kind of just staying sane while you're traveling and while everything's going on.
100%. It is difficult sometimes. Like I've had friends that will come join me while I'm on the road and they're like, okay, let's go rent scooters in Thailand and go scoot around all day. And I'm like, that sounds like a great idea, but I have to set myself to the schedule first. I'm like, so you guys can go out, but I have to do this work first, and just like being willing to kind of like make those little sacrifices because it is your job. Like you have to make those it's just part of being responsible, and professional.
Absolutely, 100%. And if you don't, then you end up, losing the clients and the thing that allows you to continue that lifestyle. So it's a contract you have to make with yourself to treat it like a real job, even when you're like lying on a beach or something, or even when your friends want you to do other things.
Yes. And I mean, you can still do all of those things. Like we said, like there is a balance, but it's just a matter of getting the tasks done first.
Yeah. What does your daily routine look like? Like just an average day for you?
So, I mean, my average day has definitely been a little warped now that we're in this climate. But prior to that, I have a half hour where I do what I call as my morning get down. And what my morning get down entails is I make myself a cup of coffee, I make myself a little something for breakfast, and then I watch 15 minutes of RuPaul's Drag Race, and it's how I start my morning off every day.
I love that.
My morning get down, my morning get down, and then I make a to-do list. Right after that, I sit down, I make my to-do list, and I say, okay, what tasks do I need to get done today? What emails do I need to get out today? What deadlines do I have coming up? And then I have a planner online that I keep all of that in. So I just double check with that, cross-reference with that. And then I sit down for say about an hour and a half, 2 hours, where I just like music is on. I'm focused on my inbox. I'm focused on my projects, whether it be editing, whether it be creating, whether it be writing. And then I take my break. I have myself a nice little something to eat. Or now that I've been in Portugal, I would walk to the bakery. That was also, I would walk to the bakery and I would get myself a cappuccino and a pastel de nata. That was my jam.
It sounds like heaven.
It's just this fantastic little egg custard. And that's what I would take my break. I would go outside for a little, walk around for a little, go get that, come back, do a few more things, and then sit outside for a half hour. That was a huge thing that I started incorporating, and I found that it was so amazing to just like designate time where you just sit outside and you don't like sit outside and stare at your phone. You just sit outside and you, whether it be meditating or reading or just, I have roommates here, so talking to my roommates, like just designating that time where you can just like be outside and enjoy that sun for a little, I thought was really important. And then my day would start, I'd say about 9, and I would typically work till about 3, 4, depending on my workload. Sometimes it would be until noon if I didn't have a lot to do. Sometimes it would be until 9 o'clock at night if I had a lot to do. But I really was willing to, change that depending on if I wanted to go do some things. So
That sounds nice. That sounds really nice.
yeah, I usually end by 4.
And by 4,
Yeah.
that's a good time.
That was always my goal. Like, okay, I want to be done by 4. Sometimes it went over, but it depended.
Yeah, that sounds nice. It sounds like a nice, kind of relaxing, well-balanced day.
Yeah, I find my problem was like when I was at the agency, I was waking up at say 8 a.m. and I was on my laptop from 8 o'clock in the morning until 12 o'clock at night. And then I was going to sleep. And as soon as I was up, I was in front of a screen all over again. And just spending that much time in front of my laptop was just super unhealthy for me. And so now, like, part of my schedule is just really recognizing moments where, like, I can step away from a screen, like, I can let my eyes rest a little. Like, having that balance is definitely really important in my routine.
Yes, absolutely. Because you can't maintain a heavy workload or like a heavy schedule like that for a long time. Like over time, it's going to wear you down. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to start resenting your work. So it's essential to, take those breaks, have a healthy work routine, figure out what your boundaries are, and like respect those boundaries.
Yeah, and even like with clients, I've been very upfront about the fact that, like, unless it's an emergency, I'm not answering your email on the weekends. Like, being able to like be confident in yourself enough to, like, in an upfront but professional way, be willing to like set these boundaries for yourself. Otherwise, I just find like you get taken advantage of.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Do you set these boundaries with clients at the beginning or do you put it in your contract? How do you do that?
I usually, if I'm meeting them face to face, then I tell them up front within our first meeting, when they tell me that they'd like to work together. Otherwise, I'll tell them virtually when we chat or via email. I mention it, but it is always mentioned.
Yeah, that's good. I think setting those expectations at the beginning is super important.
100%. Like, you're a professional. Like, saying what your boundaries are isn't a bad thing at all. I like to be very upfront with it right in the beginning, get it out of the way.
Hmm. Have you had any trouble working with clients in different time zones when you travel?
Yes, communication's definitely a bit more difficult. I had a client that I was working for a bit of time where they had four different headquarters: Russia, Germany, China, and then North America on the East Coast. And so, like, knowing knowing who you had to answer to at what times of the day was definitely a little bit difficult, but yeah, it just takes some managing.
Yeah, I just ask because this is something that people always worry about. Like when I go traveling, how does that work with clients? And something that clients always worry about too when they hear that you want to go travel, they're like, wait a minute, how is that gonna work? And they kind of picture you off somewhere with no internet connection and they're like trying to get a hold of you.
100%. I have 100% dealt with that exact scenario. But it's just, for me, like, it's just willing to show that, like, despite that you're traveling, the work that you need to be doing is getting done. And as long as you're communicating effectively with your clients, then, like, they're very understanding. I find oftentimes that when I do take on a client, it'll be mentioned that I do work remotely, that I am on the road, but a lot of times I find that once we're in our routine or once we have a good set of communications going, then the fact that I'm traveling really isn't brought up more so. So it's just a matter of like being able to show that your work, despite you being 6 hours ahead, 6 hours behind.
It's building that trust. Like once they trust you, then they don't question it. What have you found is the best way for you to find new clients or to build like those long-term good relationships?
I find that if you create a really fantastic bond with your clients, then your clients also want to help you. So I've had my clients bring in other clients for me and just be like, oh, so this person is looking for digital marketing services. Would you be willing to take them on? And then, like, even just receiving clients that way is so great. And like having that relationship with your clients. And I also find that like communication is key. Like, let as many people know what it is that you do, and if more people know what you're doing, then if they need those services, if they know somebody that needs their services, they're more likely to recommend you.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like word of mouth. If you're really good with clients, they are happy to refer you to their friends.
Hmm. Hmm. I find that, like, other websites that may have a bunch of different digital nomad jobs or remote jobs, and you're just vying and like bidding for these jobs and you're lowballing yourself. But when you have people that can like actually be a testament to the work that you do. And for a long time, my testaments were like my family members, like my friends that I did random services for. But until you build that name, like to have people that really just stand behind your work and are willing to recommend you, like it's fantastic.
Hey there, we hope you enjoyed listening to the Dear Guava Bean podcast. If you'd like to hear the second half of this episode, log in to the Freelancer Toolbox or go to guavabean.com to start your free trial now. As always, our goal is to empower you with the information, inspiration, and direction you need to achieve financial freedom through online work. Thanks for listening and supporting the podcast. See you in the next episode.